Hey, what's up, everybody? You know, I thought I'd take this time, and I know I talked about this probably in a written text, and if I did a video on it before, I thought, well, maybe I should update my thoughts on it, if you will. You see, I've always had this feeling, and I know a lot of you watching this, and if I posted it certain sites except for one, that you guys will disagree and may agree. But I find it kind of ironic, that in the past few years, I mean, I understood when Archie Comics decided to bring out Archives, it was to basically get everybody caught up, especially newer readers and subscribers, caught up on the whole history of the comic and all the adventures that the characters went through. But I find it kind of weird, if you will, that suddenly we're getting all these other books now, which is kind of... Oh, sorry about that. That was the TV. I meant to put it on mute. But I find it kind of weird that we're getting all these other books now. Books like Legacy, The Best of Sonic the Hedgehog, Selects, and now we're getting something that's going to center around Ian Flynn's work. Well, that's what, from what I understand, it will, called the Saga series. And I also find it kind of unusual that we're getting, well, a Who's Who deal later this year, which I'm okay with, because at least it lets people kind of understand who's who. But to me, it's just, again, I know I'm repeating myself when I say it, it's just ironic that we're getting all this, and next year is going to be the 20th anniversary of the comic itself, as well as the year of issue 250. Now, again, I understand some of you watching this would say, Brian, there's no way it's going to be the final issue. It's going to keep going. And you might be right. But when you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, when you think about it, isn't it kind of weird? Think about this for 1 second. Every other anniversary issue we've had, it hasn't been, the events leading into it or the events that come out of it have never lasted for as long as what this one is proposed to be. I mean, we've never had villains from all sides, if you will, basically taking the characters down a notch and basically leaving them decimated or wounded, unmotivated, or whatever you want to call it. And I know some of you would say, well, sometimes that's what needs to happen in comic books and graphic novels, and I agree. But again, it's just, usually when something like this happens, from what I've understood, and maybe I'm a little wrong here, maybe I need to research and look back at my history and all that, but don't you think it's kind of unusual that this is all happening and we're heading to 250? Because from what I've seen in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, and a lot of you probably will, but doesn't all the crap, all the BS that the characters are enduring right now, from all sides, that as soon as you have it conclude in an anniversary issue, doesn't that usually mean in the anniversary issue sometimes that that's it for the entire series? That's the end? Again, I know some of you may disagree with me on that, but I just find that kind of weird. Let me put it to you an example. There have been other examples besides comic books. Television has had it. Anytime there's been a 200th or 100th episode, or 300th episode, or whatever you want to call it, or 250th episode, or whatever, or 500th episode, if it reaches that far. It's always kind of funny that sometimes in those episodes, whether it's an animated show or a live action show, that from what I have seen sometimes, that anniversary episode will usually be led into as the finale, as the goodbye, if you will. Well, other times it'll be the beginning of something. So that's one example to look at, and there have been other comics out there as well, that have been released and published by the other major comic book companies out there, like Marvel and DC, and some of the smaller ones like IWD and Top Cow and Radio Comics. They have all done something similar, and usually the last issue, which ironically at times could be the anniversary issue, or could be an anniversary issue, at least one of the big ones, is usually the finale, the end, if you will, of the series. Now sometimes it has been a proven fact that the series, if it does end, a comic book series does end, it ends not on an anniversary issue, but ends on just a regular issue. And this is true. But from what I have seen, I think it's just too ironic that this is all happening. And when you think about, and I want you to put this into perspective, folks. When it all comes to a climax, possibly in 250, which it definitely looks like it's leading towards, and everything gets restored, everything, and the day is won, the good guys win, if you will. And let's say it's a great victory, or bittersweet victory, or whatever you want to call it, but everything is said and done, the evil is defeated. What's next for the heroes if they finally conquered all? If they have finally taken down the mortal enemies, what's next for the heroes? Where do they go from here? See, these are questions that a lot of people want answered. And yet, we don't know if we'll ever get those answers we don't know if we'll ever get those answers. Whether they will be straightforward or not. Is there going to be a new villain in play? Is there a new threat? What? We don't know. I mean, I understand the possibilities are endless for, let's say, if Eggman gets taken out in 250 and so does Nagas, and that's the end of them. At least in the comic, that is. But again, I just think it's a question we need to ask ourselves, like, what's going to happen? What's next? What will be next for them? I know a lot of people pretty much have said that, you know, what's going on here in the current story arc might in some ways have an effect on the proposed years later stories. But we're not sure about that, folks. We're not sure. You see, a lot of people have said that it's non-canon, if you will, or not connected to the continuity, but yet, when you think about it, if it's not connected to the continuity, then why did a certain time-traveling hedgehog end up in years later? I ask you that. What I'm saying, folks, is I believe, in my wholehearted opinion, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. I am dead serious. I hope I'm wrong. But I just feel, with everything that's happening, you got the new Saga series of books coming out, you got the selects that are in black and white, you got the art guides, you got knuckle art guides, you got a Who's Who encyclopedia coming out, you got a super magazine for who knows how long that's going to last. You know, and probably much more. and probably more to come, but the thing is, for how much longer? How much longer is it going to go? Could 250 be it? I mean, Universe, you will say, is still going strong, and it's going to surpass many people's expectations. Yeah, it will. I'm not denying that, because it's tying into the main book. But what if? What if? You got to ask yourself this: what if it ends at the same time the main book does? You see what I'm saying? Or what if it continues on and the main book doesn't? Basically saying that now it's not just going to focus on Sonic, but now the comic, the only comic we would have, and it was going to focus on everybody else. What would you do then? You see what I'm saying? I'm saying that in my humble opinion, wholehearted, honest opinion, I just feel 250 could be it. Again, I understand you're probably looking at me and thinking it's not going to be it, Brian. It's not going to be it. You know, we've got 16 more months, or 15 more months, if you will, till we find out if that's true or not. 15 and a half, about 15 more months. And in 15 months, where will the comic be? The comic in 15 months, the main one, of course, will be 250, but where will the spin-off be? Will the spin-off be just about there too? It'll probably be about issue 52, but who's to say it won't end before that at issue 50? But again, like I said, who's to say it won't end before that? Because you got to think of it this way. Yeah, we're at issue 37 right now in the universe. In 15 issues we'll have issue 52, but who's to say we won't end before that? It was issue 50. And then 2 months later we end with 250. Get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying, folks? I just find it kind of ironic. And again, you know, it's just my wholehearted, honest opinion. And besides, do you think, honestly, right now, Ian Flynn, Paul Kaminsky, or anybody else over at Archie that works on the comics is going to tell you the truth? Is going to let you in on that? No, they won't. No comic book company lets anybody in on something until something big happens. Until the big anniversary issue or something happens. It's just and again, I'm telling you, I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But the way things seem to be going story arc-wise, I just think I think if you just put the pieces together, it seems to be honestly heading in that direction. And again, I hope I'm wrong. So, that's all I'm going to say. Comment down below if you like. Do a video response if you like. And I'll talk to y'all later. And take a look at these covers before I go.